Yes, it is being broadcast. We have people already joining in. The number is going to increase every second from 5 to 15, 16, right? It's increasing every moment, every second.
Is it first come, first serve basis?
No, it's not like that. People are joining in from all places, and I believe they were waiting for this. Now everybody's online. Yes, good morning, Hanuman sir. So very good morning, participants. Please bear with me for another few minutes. We will be starting this webinar in like 5 minutes. 28 participants have joined in so far. So we will wait for another few minutes and let other participants join. We have around 166 people who have registered so far for this lean construction webinar. And the number is increasing every second. Right, it's the time is 3 minutes to, or we say 2 minutes to 11. So we will wait for another 2 minutes to begin this webinar. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Salunke sir. He's there. I worked with him. There is Mr. Sudhakar Kulkarni also joining us. Mr. Siva Kumar. Mr. Satish Tawde. Yes, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining. We have Sampath Bhai from Bharat Forge, if I'm not wrong. He has also joined. So you can see people here joining here from manufacturing industries also. Great to know that. I'm very sure that new plants need to be set up, and some principles of construction would be useful for you guys. Good morning, Natkar ji. Mr. Suryavanshi, Mr. Islam, Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Chakravarti. Good morning. Good morning, Ravi Chandran ji. So it's 48 participants right now, and the time is 11:01. So I'll begin the program. Yes, good morning, Mr. Goyen. I hope you're joining in from Malaysia, Thailand. Where are you joining from? Can you please type in the chat box? Vietnam. Oh, that's great. So we have people from Vietnam also joining us today. Yes, Mr. Desai, good morning to you. Participants, if you have to say anything, please type in the chat box. And if you are able to hear me very clearly, please type Y in the chat box so that I can understand you can hear me very clearly. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bhatt. Thank you, Mr. Sahu. Thank you, Mr. Suryavanshi. Pradhanji, thank you. Mr. Jagtap, thank you. Mr. Patel, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Salunke. Yes, good morning, Mr. Thomre. Thank you, Mr. Tampatji. Sukumarji, thank you so much. Right. So without taking much further time, let me begin by telling about our organization, which is Vedzen Lean Consulting Group. We are into transforming organizations. We bring change management within the organization. We improve operations, processes, people, and their workplace. And in order to do that, we do some research also. We train people, we facilitate and implement lean principles. We do it by our principles, which are learning by doing, hands-on and team-based. So we work with the teams at the shop floor, at the site, at their offices, so that we learn from them and they learn the proven principles. And that's how we bring change in the organization. So some guidelines for you participants. We will spend 10 minutes in the introduction part. Another 40 minutes will be spent on the session, which is lean construction. 10 minutes will be spent on the question and answers. So as you can see on your screen, be comfortable. If you have grabbed your cup of coffee or tea, whichever you like, please get it. Keep a pen and paper handy so that you can note down your learnings from this session and your question also, right? Which you can later type on in the question box or in the chat box and share your queries. These questions will be answered at the end of the session. One small request, if you can, please close all those internet consuming apps, right? If you're using a mobile phone, it's a must. Desktop, it's very good. Laptop, it's very good. So please block all those internet consuming apps which may restrict the flow of this video or this audio session, right? This program is an awareness session, right? It's an awareness session. It will give you a framework. It is not a workshop or a training session, because in workshops, the training is more extensive and the training is given in a different manner, right? So participants, we have 75 participants joining in so far. Can you please help me with I don't see the poll here. I need the first poll, right? Where are you joining in from? Which country, right? Right, in the chat box, can you please type in if you're not from India? How many people are not from India? Can you please type in the chat box? Right, Mr. from Saudi Arabia, we have Mr. Mohan. Okay, we have Mr. Guen from Vietnam. And where else? Because we have around 84 participants here. Right, no worries. We'll go ahead then. We'll wait for your answers. If you can, in the middle of the session also, you can share. Right. Yes, Swapnilji, from India. Yes, most of them are from India itself, right? From various parts of the country. So who we are? Our company was founded by Shri Yogesh Waghani, who will be joining later in this session, in the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. He founded this company in the year 2000 in Pune. He had moved from Mumbai, he set up his factory in Pune, and that's where he implemented lean principles, lean Kaizen principles in the Milton factory plant, right? And his vision then was to create a mini Japan on the Nagar Road industrial belt of Pune. Now that vision has become our company's vision to be a global missionary for improving top and bottom line of the company, whereby increasing, by bringing prosperity to all stakeholders in all business industries through total employee involvement. Every employee is to be involved, right? And to help them become world class. We have undergone some branding changes also, which you can see on your screen. And Vedzen has now become, over in the last 20 years, Vedzen has now become a very well-known brand in the field of lean Kaizen implementation in India, with the motto of transforming organizations, right? We have helped various organizations to become fit, fast, flexible by involving all employees. We have worked with myriad of sectors, not just 10, but myriad of sectors. And some even last year, I had the opportunity of working with a bank also, right? So we have worked with more than 50 organizations for training and implementation of best practices, and have developed over 5,000 lean leaders who are driving their organization towards business excellence, towards operational excellence, towards process excellence. We offer our services in the areas of manufacturing, in construction, in services areas, in retail, so that to make companies a lean organization. We have worked with many kinds of companies, as I said, in the auto sector, in the OEM sector, construction sector, jewelry manufacturers, forging and foundry companies, plastics, and many others. Like I said, banks also. We have had the opportunity to work with multinational companies also. Now, the results have been very fruitful. We could improve the throughput time. We could reduce their throughput time. We could improve their productivity. We could improve quality. We could reduce their cost and could create superior flexibility for them. That all resulted in creating a high performance culture. You can visit our website to read the testimonials which we have received in video and in text also on www.vedzen.com. It is from companies like Sintel, which is the telecom division of Arvind Limited, from companies like Asian Paints, from companies like Automotive Stampings and Assemblies. It is a Pune-based company. Now, we have also been recognized by the ET MSME Excellence Awards. We got a certificate of recognition in the education and training category, especially in the micro enterprise category. Last year itself, it was in 2019 that we got this award. Now, I have been associated, my name is Piyush Pandey, and I have been associated with this company for quite some time now. As you can see on your screen, I started by organizing workshops for companies, with factory visits, case study competitions. I also get into training and handholding through consulting engagements, and whether at construction sites or at pharmaceutical companies or at forging companies. I've visited many companies to learn and to share what I've been doing. I also edit a monthly newsletter, which I've been running for last 3-4 years now for my company. So this is all I've been so far. Now, coming to the topic of today's webinar, which is lean construction, how lessons from manufacturing can improve construction. Right, can we have the poll here to check out which industry are you representing today? The poll, please. Right, so on your screen, participants, please check in and type what industry are you representing. Right, in the chat box I can see Abhishek Das, he's into substation project execution. Siddharth Nandiji from construction, Mr. Salunke from construction. So on your screen you have options, right? 3 options. Great, please type in. We will wait for 30 seconds for your answer, and then yes, Mr. Sanjay, thank you, you're into construction. So please select the industry you are representing today. You're either from construction, from manufacturing, or this services. Right, Mr. Desai from MEP projects. Right, from another one from I don't have the name, but it says Redmi 2. It is he is or she is from construction. Thank you so much, participants, for your being so interactive, for sharing your inputs. Right, the poll has ended. Can we have the display the poll? Absolutely, fantastic. So we have 65% people from manufacturing sector, 21% from manufacturing, and 8 people from the service sector. That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your help. So I'm sure today people who are representing the construction fraternity would get to learn about lean principles. Those who are into manufacturing, they already know what many of the techniques are, especially lean and lean tools like 5S, right? Standardization, visual management, JIT, Kanban, all are known to most of the manufacturing people. But for construction, some of the companies are implementing it, some of them are not. But to say manufacturing has benefited by doing that in a large way, right? So today we would understand going ahead what are the benefits, how lean is, what is lean, and how it has helped manufacturing, and how we have as an institution, as a consulting firm, have been able to implement those principles in the construction industry also. A few of the companies, we would share examples from some companies which are into residential construction, some are into commercial construction, some are into infrastructure. So we'll be learning from these companies how they could improve. So how it happened is I happened to visit one company some 5-6 years back, and it was a very small opportunity that I got. I had an opportunity of implementing 5S, right, to improve the slab cycle time productivity. So that was the opportunity I had. From there, I could imagine that manufacturing is so different and construction is so different that it is like the North Pole and the South Pole. They're not similar, right? They're totally different. Manufacturing is done under a shed, and construction is done under an open sky, right? And there are so beautiful places where construction happens, manufacturing also happens, but it's so different. The soil, the area, the climate one has to undergo while working in a construction company, it's so different from manufacturing. The things are so different. How they are different, we will learn today. So, but the current situation is such that we are facing the COVID pandemic also. The coronavirus has affected our livelihoods very much. It has affected the manpower also. Most of the manpower have migrated in the last 30 days to their hometowns. They were stuck for like 1 month or so. And now there's a situation that manpower is less in both type of companies, whether in services, in all kinds of companies, in fact, whether manufacturing, construction, or services. Now the machines, who would run these machines, who would run the JCB, who would run the Bobcat, is a problem. And training the local manpower is also a new challenge, because the available manpower has to be trained very fastly and very efficiently so that they can do the work on time and error free. Now the methods have changed. Even the ISO standard say that under 6.1 you have to assess the risk which is found in each process, right? Because we are handling so much material, we are handling so much uh, equipment, we are interacting with so many people. The methods have to change because as the guidelines say, we have to maintain a physical distance of around 6 feet, right? And every item therefore has to be sanitized before getting or touching them. So measurements have changed. We don't know the customer demand. The customer consumption pattern has changed, whether in construction or in manufacturing. Given the construction scenario, the people who want to buy flats, want to buy offices, want to develop roads or any other such infrastructure are looking for that understanding how, when it should happen, when it will happen, when will we start getting money for that, right? These are some dimensions which have changed. In supply chain area also the dimensions have changed. When are we going to get the materials, how we are going to make payments for that. Now added to this is the digital or smart way of working that was already brewing in the industry for last 4 or 5 years, which is industrial IoT or smart manufacturing or smart construction. That is the use of digital technologies. Smartphones are already in there in our lives. Webinar, this is happening through a digital platform, right? Otherwise, I would have been doing this webinar in some open forums, in some educational institute, in some company. But sitting at home, I can reach out to more than 80, 90 people here, right? So that has changed very much. And that is going to, it is helping us in a big way. So when we did our first webinar, it was all about how we can gear up given this COVID pandemic. We wanted production, we wanted hygiene, we wanted physical distancing, we wanted to improve discipline, we wanted to understand the customer demand, the supply chain, how it is going to function, how we are going to get materials, the production, how and how much we are going to produce on a daily basis, right? Given the manpower situation, given the material situation, how would be the quality of things, given the skills of people. Now, people availability was another problem, big problem. People were unable to move out of their houses. So how we could do that? And ultimately the flow, how the information and the material is going to flow from one process to the other process, from one system to the other system, right? That was so different. So my colleague and senior consultant Gandhi sir did this program, and he gave us 3 mantras. You can visit our website to check out these mantras. The whole 1 hour session is posted there. So the first thing we have to do is we don't have to press the panic button, but to fill the information checklist with respect to each of these 8 points. What are these 8 points? You just see on your screen. The third point was we have to follow some do's and don'ts, right? Some do's with respect to demand, with some do's with respect to supply chain, some don'ts with respect to production, some don'ts with respect to quality. So please go on our website. Now, the second webinar, we saw that how we can discover the means to significantly save money for our organization from our own operations, right? We need to have a different vision. That's how we can discover this. We need to develop some competence. We need to develop some understanding, gain some knowledge so that we can improve productivity. But that cannot happen if you are wearing dark glasses. People, those who don't have clear vision, they can't see the opportunity, even if it exists. These people just can't see, right? Now, some are wearing golden glasses. They can see the opportunity, but they're not clear on how to grab that opportunity. Some people are wearing multi-colored glasses. They can see the opportunity. They know how to grab it, but they don't have time, tact, and energy to work on the floor to grab it, right? So how do we help them? How we can develop their competence? The solution is we can coach you to see clearly, to see the opportunity if it exists, and then encash it as soon as like just in 3-4 months. So going ahead from here, you can again visit our website. This is also another session posted on the our website. There's a whole 1 hour video session by Gandhi sir. You can just check in and type in. If you need help, please come back to us. Now coming back to the construction environment, what I have seen so far, like I said, some 6 years back, I got the opportunity to work in the construction industry. What I could find is all the projects, most of the projects you can say were getting delayed, right? There were higher costs. The productivity was very low. It was so people dependent. It was not so system dependent. What were the reasons? The Construction Industry Institute, after doing some research, says coordination is the highest factor. Then there is engineering factor, right? The design factor. There are some owner decision factors. Whether we are in the midst of the rainy season, you can imagine how we will work in this rainy season. There has to be some system. Like I said, it is an open sky that we have to work under. It is not like manufacturing. There are some prerequisites that needs to be completed. Some labor issues, some material issues, contract issues. All these issues contribute to project delays, lower productivities, and higher costs. And the situation is not like manufacturing. The physical characteristics of productions are tend to be ignored, right? Production in construction is a largely uncontrolled process. One slab is at a different scale, different manpower, different timeline. The other one is a different timeline. One flat, if we consider in the residential area, it is at a different timeline. In Pune city, we are building the metro also. You can imagine those who are from Pune, they would really understand how long did it take to cover the same 1 kilometer distance in creating that pillars and creating that base for running the metro. Now, there is extreme fragmentation even within the single company, right? There is so much of construction ERP, different types of drawing. Some are in paper, some are in computer. There are some people use project plans in MSP, some don't, right? Some have on paper. But there is a central control kind of thing. Largely, it's a push system, and that variability is not accounted, right? Is not taken into account. Like I said, the timing is different. Every slab is different. Every flat is different. Every room is different. Of it, not in scale, but in measurement. The process times, the cycle times, the lead times, they're different. There is lack of technical knowledge of production, right? Like in manufacturing, how we can ensure workflow reliability, how we can find out defects at each state and minimize it going ahead. How we can design processes where we have identified failure modes. There is a process called failure mode effective analysis. It's very much, it's done in the product phase also, the design phase also, and in the process phase also. Is construction doing it? You guys, I'm sure you would know, you would agree with me that we have so many things to learn from manufacturing, right? And there is no systematic process for learning from experience or process of people behavior. Most of the information is in people's heads, but is it being bought on people? Are people mentoring other people? Are people training other people to become efficient, to become effective? Let's understand that. That is why the productivity in manufacturing has reduced like almost twice. It is less than the manufacturing area. The construction productivity, as you can see, this research was done by McKinsey some years back in, I believe, 2005. It said that it's very low, right? And now the economist says it is again not, it has improved, but not so much. Whereas manufacturing, it has improved twice or threefold, you can say. So what are the reasons behind it, right? Manufacturing has done so much. If you look at this graph represents the story of Toyota, the story of Japanese production right after the twin bombs that exploded in Japan. People were so aghast, they learned so much, they started developing their systems, and they believed so much in their culture that they could surpass the US production, which was leading in terms of automobile area. They could surpass giants like GM, Chrysler, Ford, and to become the best in the market. Now, the timing of the Toyota products, you can see, is the best. Every year they launch their products with some modification, some improvement, and at the same cost, right? Not so much difference of cost is there, and they are offering better products than other companies. How that could happen? It was not just like Toyota only did that. Every company was learning from that. Pharmaceutical companies, electronic companies like Dell, automotive companies were obviously doing it. Aerospace companies did it. We are in India, we're getting the Rafale this year, right? France is supplying it. How they are going to do this? Computer manufacturing is, like I told you, in Dell is doing that. Consumer goods, FMCG companies, they have learned so much. What they could do is they could understand and convert the theory into practice. Theories like TQM, total quality management. There is Deming Award behind it. Many manufacturing companies have got it. Many Indian companies like Tata, Godrej have got that kind of award. There is Malcolm Baldrige Award. There is Damnalal Bajaj Award in the Indian parlance for excellence. There is TPM, Total Productive Maintenance. That's how this picture of OEE comes in. Every equipment has to be effective. All the losses have to be eliminated. Then there is JIT. JIT is just like having diabetes and maintaining sugar, right? All manufacturing companies keep their inventory just like they're meant, as if they have industrial diabetes. It cannot be more, it cannot be less. It has to be optimum because they have limited space. How they could do this? They have also lean, which helps them identify space within their organization. They have preventive maintenance. They have industrial engineering. They study all kinds of motion, all kinds of processes, all kinds of efforts that are considered, right? They have value engineering. They have foundations like 5S. So that's how manufacturing could learn. But more of less of manufacturing now. Let's go jump into construction. It's high time that construction has to learn those and convert those theories, those principles, and implement them into construction area. What are those principles? We will understand the lean perspective today. Right? Construction industry, it has to go lean. It has to adopt a lean perspective. What is that lean perspective? We will have to go back in the time right now. Lean is not new. Being faster, being better, building better homes or better machines or better ships is not new. It's not a new concept. We have to be faster. You can see this image in the 1452 AD. Venetians could make ships in very few hours, right? Now from there to this day, which is 2000, in the year 2010 and 2020, there have been so many kinds of theories that have been propounded. Theories like I told you, TQM, there is Six Sigma, there is re-engineering, but all say the same thing. We have to build better products, better homes, better services, and satisfy our customers. So we are going to focus on lean today. Lean as a word came out of the study of Toyota production system. It was published in 1991, The Machine That Changed the World by James Womack. And later in 1996, he produced the second book, Lean Thinking. And in 2000, Leiker produced the book, The Toyota Way, which underlined 14 principles. So lean was an outcome of study of Toyota production system, how they could create culture using the 4 Ps, right? And those principles have now been summarized in, you can say, 5 principles, which say as like specify the value from customer point of view, map the value, what is the value, where are we adding value, establish flow, let's eliminate what is obstructing the flow of this value, let's pull the information from the customer, let's pull everybody towards fulfilling the current situation, making what we need right now, and gradually pursuing perfection, taking a step-by-step approach towards becoming better and satisfying our customers. So in every industry, you can see there is a lead time, either a process time or a cycle time, and lean focuses on differentiating between what is value added and what is non-value added. It says, let's find out what is non-value added, not just value added. In construction, what happens is we tend to focus only on the value added part, right? Let's get more people to complete the slab. Let's get more people to complete the tiling. Let's get more people to let's get more suppliers. Let's get more people to complete electrical or plumbing or any kind of work, right, that is required. But that is not the case. Can we identify all those which is obstructing the generation of value, which is stopping us from fulfilling our requirements? So when we focus on eliminating those non-value adding things, then the process, the cycle time or the lead time reduces. But what is that non-value adding thing? Let's understand. From the first principle, which says specify value, that is about finding and quantifying the waste. What is value is described by the customer. Whatever is required, any activity that is necessary for meeting customer requirements is value added, right? And there are activities which are necessary, but they don't add value, right? in construction parlance, we can say shuttering is a value adding activity, but bringing material from other side of the area and not keeping it where it is required, when it is required, during the or before the work, then it's a necessary activity, but that does not add value to the customer. The customer is not going to pay you for your mistakes, right? I hope you agree with me on that. Now there is completely a non-value adding activity, which is a very much a big part of our current process. Activities that are not necessary for meeting customer requirements. What are those activities? Let's not put our first hammer on the direct labor. Not, like I said, not just on the labor part, getting more labor, getting more suppliers, getting more material. That's not the answer. Let's see how we can complete our work using the right number of resources, using optimum resources. So let's be effective first. So what are those non-valuing activities? In Toyota or in lean parlance, you can say they are described as waste. What are those types of waste? They are overproduction, inventory, waiting, motion, transportation, defects, extra processing, underutilized people. Okay, let's understand each of these waste in detail. When we understand the first waste, you can remember by looking at this on the left hand side of your screen, there is a flow kind, it says defects, overprocessing, waiting, not utilizing potential, transportation, inventory, motion, excess production, right? So it's the acronym you can remember is downtime. Every activity which delays our work puts in some downtime. These are those 8 elements, participants. So what are those defects? Whether bore packing is not done, or there is some joint that needs to be treated after it has been casted, some injection grouting has been done, we did not put in the right kind of adhesive while before casting of that slab, right? There are some mistakes which are transferred on to the customers. Some tiles from the this photo is from the residential sector, and then there is some seepage or leakage that happens. So there are 2 types of areas where defects cause a cost. There are internal defects and there are external defects. Internal means we haven't handed over to the customers, but what is happening is we are going to correct that mistake. So that is a cost. We are going to need people to correct that mistake. We are going to need extra resources to correct that mistake. We are going to spend time in supervising whether that work is happening again or not. And if that kind of defect is transferred to the customer, it becomes an external cost of quality, right? External cost of poor quality, as we say. The customer will complain about it. We have to come again, investment of same resources. Now the worst part is if the customer goes on to spread that, because in the digital age, information travels at the speed of light. The construction people are well aware of that. The customers go online websites like real estate forums. They go on websites like RERA, and they complain about it. It spreads like wildfire. Now under RERA also, I'm sure you know, there is a in Indian parlance, those who are from India, they must be understanding. In RERA, it's a government real estate regulatory act laid out by the government to help the customers. Now it has a 5-year defect liability period. Okay, the builder or the owner of that building has to maintain that kind of provide that kind of maintenance until a period of 5 years. So all that cost that will go into maintaining that, covering those mistakes which happen during the process, has to be borne by the company. So you can imagine how much is that cost of that. If you start quantifying from the earlier stages, right? So then there is over processing. Honeycombing is a common example. Not covering the mistakes is a common example. Using raw materials, right, for doing this is a common example. Now, leaving behind some of the materials while in doing the process is another common example of over processing. Processing more than it is required, right? It could have been done. The honeycombing could have been avoided by focusing on supervision while the compaction was being done. Insufficient compaction causes the kind of errors. Insufficient putting up panels, deck panels could have caused these errors. So that can be avoided here, right? Waiting is one of the biggest waste. Everywhere we go, I find people waiting for materials to come, people waiting for some more steel to come so that reinforcement can be finished, people waiting for casting to be done, waiting for the RMC to come. Now, in other stages, people waiting for some information from our superiors, whether this has been checked, whether this has been okayed, whether do we have the drawings. So in place, have we checked it, have we worked upon it? These are all kinds of waiting. In some places, the contractor and the suppliers are waiting for some flow of money. Even the company is waiting for money from the customers, right? So these are all obstructions in the value that is to be generated at the site. Now, transportation, getting materials from the far end of the city or from other state, from other places, it adds to the cost, right? Just because focusing on unit price, we pay a bigger price of not having materials on time, right? Whether it's in the case of RMC, whether it's in case of shuttering material or any kind of material, whether tiling or lifts, we are procuring from abroad, right? So there are certain issues which can be solved. Transportation is yet another big factor in completing that waste. Inventory, we are losing so much on inventory. The scrap that is generated out of steel, right? The materials which we did not handle efficiently, the shuttering material, the AAC blocks that were discarded, that were not specified to the requirement, that is why they had to be thrown out. Now, in the last picture, you can see gypsum work, the walls, they're not consistent, right? So extra material has to be used just to manage that. This is another kind of waste. Motion, it's a very big problem. Most of the work in construction industry is done manually. You would find people carrying goods on their head, metals on their shoulders, and they spend time in searching for materials, looking for the right part for completing the mock-up or the shuttering or the any activity, you can say. So after studying, this also can be eliminated. Now there is some excess production, some design changes that happened after having completed that work. That also is a cost, because demolishing that kind of work is another big cost. The design that was not clear, that was not, the failure modes were not eliminated. So you can imagine what havoc it can cause. So excess production means producing more than necessary. Was it necessary? Could that have been avoided in the earlier stages while studying the design by collaborating with people, right? Remember, coordination is one of the biggest waste. So if we align those companies like who provide information to us, like architects and design, the people from the site, the project managers, the engineers, the contractors, maybe these decisions can be taken earlier, and these kind of mistakes can be avoided very easily. Now, not having utilized the people, their knowledge, their skills, their competence to solve these kind of problems is the biggest waste of all. This was not outlined by the Toyota in the earlier stages, participants. What happened is they outlined only the 7 ways, because they knew that due to the cultural difference, they could use their people efficiently, and their people could provide valuable information. But this gradually, as from the American point of view, gradually got developed, and we could find that we are wasting knowledge, skills, and the competence of people. Had we utilized them, had we understood their potential earlier, have we developed their competence, they could provide such a valuable inputs in product also, design also, and in process design also. So the next step in lean is to map the value in any value chain, right from the finding the perceived needs or the market demand to conceptual planning or design engineering till operation and maintenance after the project has been handed over. Even if we focus only on one aspect, you can find each aspect has so many types of value added, non-value added, and non-value added activities. So every process has that. What are those waste? Can we just find it out by mapping that process, mapping that value? Where does it flow, right? After doing that, you would find that more than 50% of the activities don't add value in that process. How? Let's find out. What is value addition? Reinforcement, yes, it does add value. Shuttering, casting, yes, it does add value. But what is necessary to do this is cleaning, garbage chutes that are used, transporting, handling material, tagging of steel bars. These are necessary in order to identify the right materials at the right time. What does not add value is rework, searching for materials, waiting for information, waiting for materials, creating defects, and inventory, and of course in motion. So these are some parts where this happens. So guys, we are running short of time. I would like to cover this very fastly. That is the basic difference between construction and manufacturing. Construction still has most of the processes, they have waste, but manufacturing, that it has been able to remove waste over a considerable period of time. This did not happen overnight, my friends. This did not happen overnight. It was so much of learning that took place, so much of analysis that took place, after which only this value could be mapped and waste could be eliminated. Now the next step is how to establish flow. How to, once we have identified this, how do we make things simpler? Because on the surface it looks like this, but what actually the process is, it's very complex. So how do we make simplify the process? How do we need to identify all the kinds of waste? We have to determine what are the time standards, what the experts have to say, and that's how we can reduce the process complexities by identifying that each task has some inputs that needs to be generated, by identifying that when the drawings are needed, when the prerequisite work has to be done, when inspections have to be done, where is the space that we're going to keep it in. Construction space is a big problem. We're not getting one phase completes. In the next phase, where are we going to keep the materials? We have limited space that on which we have to work, and then how we are going to get the tools, supplies, equipment, everything. Now by determining, by detailing, by mapping the flow, we can definitely establish a new flow which is without waste. For that, we use a last planner process, where it is different from the traditional process. In the traditional process, the project objectives just plan the work in macro terms, right? What is to be done, what should be done, in fact, is done in during the execution stages only. But what last planner method, or the collaborative planning way of working says, we should plan in detail and create a pool where we understand what is required and when it is required, right? Then we plan how we can do this, going ahead, looking ahead, at least a window of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks. So that's the window we can create, and identify what are the constraints in that window, right? Then carry on the work on a weekly basis. What are the backlogs? Why? What were the reasons we could not? What were the variances that were not addressed? Why we could not do it on time? And identifying the percentage plan complete. Let's say 100 items were done, we could only do 50% of items were balanced. Why? What were the reasons? Now this is kind of approach that can be used to create pull in the construction company, right from involving the senior management, what needs to be done, what will be done in long term, to doing it on a quarterly basis, involving them, involving the functional levels. In fact, all the levels have to follow a similar kind of process. This is a very reiterative method of thinking and pull-based thinking, where every stakeholder is involved, including the contractor and supplier guys also. Now, this is an example of last mile system that we could do at one of the companies in the recent years. Now, from milestone tracking to reverse phase scheduling, we created a look ahead plan where what is needed, when it is needed, was identified. The constraints in each process were identified, and who will get it, when he will get it, if it is going to be, it is going to happen on time, that is also measured. If it's going to extend, that is prioritized. The important and urgent ones were always prioritized using a daily management kind of thinking, where people would meet every hour, every shift on a weekly basis and on a fortnightly basis to recover those in those areas where the problems have happened. Now daily tracking happens, which says how much are we performing, what is the PPC, what is the percentage plan complete, what are the reasons of variance, and weekly tracking of performance is done in this last mile system that we have developed so far. Like I was saying, constraints, due to which constraints we have to find out, we have to correlate why this thing could not get completed on time, why there was no manpower, why previous work was not completed, why we had less manpower, in fact, why material was not supplied, why work was not of required quality, why we could not start work. These are some of the reasons. We did a Pareto analysis and to correlate with the constraints. That gives us many answers, friends. I'm sure if you do this, you will get many answers as to find out how we can recover from our mistakes. Now, quantifying all the defects, the hours that can be spent in reworking. This is one of the examples in some years we did. So quantifying defects at a very early stage, we can find out where things are going wrong. If we create a snack bank, we create a defect list, we can surely understand how and what kind of mistakes are going to happen. We can predict them also, and what is the rework that is to be required in completing that. So that can be avoided. This does not happen overnight, friends. This takes time. Now, like I said, on a daily level, we have to discuss with the site level, going to the site where the actual work happens, and involving the top management teams also to solve our problems. That's how we can overcome the constraints and solve the issues. Now, the final step in Lean is pursuing perfection. We have to involve people because only 4% problems are known to senior people. The frontline people, the people working on the site, have 100% information about it. You ask them, they will tell you, sir, this was not available, this was not done, some checking was not done, some material was not given, some labor were not available, some design issues. I have seen people from the front line contributing to so much in improving the quality that it was wonderful. Now that is what differentiate from other principles and the traditional principles and the lean principles. It is not, the problem is not a result of someone messing up. It is a result of deviation from standard. First, we have to lay down the standards, at what pace, at what requirements the work should happen, what resources it could consume. And if it is not happening, then it is the problem. It is not somebody or those people who are going to problem. We have to find out the problems by getting to the root cause, by asking the 5 whys. Those who have used it, they can certainly understand how going to the depth of problem, because on the surface it looks great, but on the going below, it can sink a Titanic also, right? So who is responsible? Management methods are responsible. What can we do when people make mistakes? We should call attention to the problem, right, for assistance and to avoid those mistakes in the long run. We should empower people. We should avoid problems in the future. And problem solving skills, my friend, every skill can be taught. There is nothing called this is perfect and this cannot be taught. Everything can be taught to people, and when you teach people, you will find wonderful answers. So pursuing perfection is also known as Kaizen, the Japanese way of continual improvement. Every bottleneck, every waste that is in processes can be identified to meet the goal, which is customer satisfaction, which is in terms of offering the right quality, of delivering the product on time. So that's how it can be done, by creating small PDCA cycles and standardizing at each step. After Kaizen, these new standards can be built. We can get into making new standards after every improvement and become the best in business. So the result of doing or adopting lean principles, adapting a Kaizen approach, doing step-by-step improvements is that the non-value adding activities can be reduced. Right? Once these non-value adding activities are removed, on-time delivery becomes possible, quality can be improved, customers can be satisfied, target costs can be met, and safety definitely can be improved in this. Let's see some examples. These are some of examples from various places that we have collected. Usually there is a lot of mess, and after involving people, teaching them basic principles like 5S, these standards could be created. The whole new mockup could be done on time. The shuttering can be done on time. When the shuttering material reaches the site, it was scattered at some places, but some of my colleagues are here in this program also. They had so wonderful ideas that they could implement this. I have Mr. Salunke from one company. His team did this kind of improvement, and they took this initiative and aligned everybody and made sure that every item that is required is available on time and for completing the casting work. Steel work, it was you would find in some places it is scattered all over the site. Can we create some racks for them? Can we tag the material so that they are easily identified? This is all done by people like you, right? There are no rocket science behind it. It's just about common sense, applying those principles like 5S, right? Sand storage or sorry, this is the wrong image, but FIFO, plumbing kits or electrical items, everything can be organized at the site also, just like to look, just make it to look like a factory, right? So that all these principles help in standardizing the cycle time also, slab cycle time, and standardizing the and reducing the slab cycle time. As you can see in the graph, usually it takes in the early stages, it takes a lot of time. But since the customer payments are related to slabs, especially in the case of residential buildings, in other cases, it is linked to in a similar kind of system. But then if that is standardized, the flow of money would be easier. The customer can be informed on time, and the money can be flowing in to complete the project as per defined times. But that does not happen easily. Every activity, the standard work has to be defined. The standardized work has to be defined. This shuttering should happen in this much time. The reinforcement should happen in this time. And for that, a standard work has to be created. Each department, whether right from surveying to execution to MEP to quality, the contractors, the suppliers, everybody has to follow a timeline, and to review the constraints also on a timely basis. Right. We will come to your question, Mr. Gwen. We will come to your question. Please wait for us. Let me just finish this presentation. Now, these are some of the improvements from the quality factor that people could do. There was leakage from the duct, damage of paint work, damage to gypsum work. So how this is identified by people? The ducts were covered, and the result has been the leakage was reduced, damage to paint work was prevented. So now, before handing over to the customer, these problems were identified by the people, and they could solve it and solve the customer's problem also, and save on the quality and the cost factors. Now, these are some small improvements that were done by one of the teams we were working with. Wonderful contribution from the team. The site engineers, the contractors, the project managers, everybody helped. And you see the electrical conduits were getting broken, not having a proper kind of stand. Just a leg was added, and it could create space just for placing that stand for bringing on the casting pipe. Right. So these are very small improvements. All these small improvements help in improving productivity, quality, using best practices like sampling. The tiles, initially every box had to be opened and to check like where we are going wrong. Okay, whether do we have all tiles broken? But after introducing the sampling method, by just opening a specified number of boxes as per the lot, the supplier could be intimated, the material could be returned, and gradually a system was built where they could also do the same thing, and they did not deliver the wrong material or in the wrong quantity or in the wrong way. So some quality improvements, small improvements like putting up cable ties before casting, washing of panels, using of checklists to find out what are the faults in shuttering, to find out what are the faults in these kind of after RCC has been done in gypsum. And so these checklists, and by training people, during the construction stage, using some standard procedures, using visual procedures, these things can be done very easily. Right, Mr. Chaudhary, I'll come back to this. Thank you so much, sir. I'll wait for this. So visualization is one of the important factors in construction. You can see zone maps, how material will move, where it will come from, where it is going to be stored, needs to be trained to people, can be drawn out and people can be trained on that. The process for RCC, process for tiling, the whole big room can be created where everybody can gather for a stand-up meeting for ranging from 15 minutes to 45 minutes to discuss once in a day or twice in a day, or during the shift changes also, like what are the problems, what things went well, what things went wrong, how we can manage those situations. So visualization is yet another big learning from lean companies. Now safety improvements can also be brought in. Ducts can be covered where tripping, falling, these issues can be eliminated. All this happens when we involve people, when we partner our contractors, our suppliers, and fulfill their promises, right? Whatever they want, we fulfill their promises. They say we will do it in this time, we have to provide materials. When they do that, we recognize that, we appreciate that. That is required. We need to have some kind of sign off. Some win-win situations have to be created. We need to evaluate our performance, their performance, so that we can become better. We need to solve issues. We need to escalate those issues which are not solved or cannot be solved at the ground level. They need to move higher, right? And in a structured way, those problems need to be solved. Sorry. And this is an example of project charter that we built while working with the company. And this helps in all these efforts can be done if people are trained, they are developed, trade-wise training. People need to be empowered to make presentations and to show us how and things can be done. Daily pledges, open house sessions, and team building games can be played where people can be aligned to one single goal. All that results in improving productivity, quality, delivery, and safety, right? We measure it in terms of PPC, right from beginning to these areas, to the in the first, second, or third month. Within, like I said in the beginning, within 3 to 4 things can be organized to a certain level, and by focusing on just 1, 2, or 3 processes, right? Not the whole company. So each process can be improved, and the result of which will be improvement in productivity, improvement in on-time delivery, customer satisfaction, quality, cash flow. These areas we can improve, thereby reducing the project lead times, the cost, defects, inventories, and all those 8 types of waste that we saw in the session today. So my friends, increasing cost is a very generic way of everybody can do that. Every company aims for that, but reducing the cost is what we are looking at. By reducing the cost, by eliminating that waste, that is what is lean all about. By improving people, by improving their problem solving skills, by removing the inefficiencies, we can definitely solve the problems. So how we can help you is, we can help you to gear up, we can help you to discover the waste, we can help you to manage your performance. So this is the end of my presentation, friends. We have different models for different companies. We can assess your company's problems. We can train you in lean tools, improve your people skills. We can bring in productivity, quality, cost, or delivery improvements by working with your teams. We can do problem solving workshops, problems which cannot be defined, which you are unable to define within your organization. We can help you solve that. And we can also undertake a lean transformation workshop or an initiative for the long term, right? This all we do by learning and doing through hands-on approach and in a team-based manner. So thank you very much, participants, for this. I hope I finished on time. Yes, it's 11:59. I have overstayed by 10 minutes or so, but I can see that questions have started coming in, and we already have 2 questions here. We have, okay. Right, we have so many questions coming in. I would give you another 2-3 minutes so that you can think over what we shared today, and you can jot down your questions in the question box. You can use the chat box also. Let me go through the chat box, and in the meantime, you can type in your questions so that we can answer them. I hope you like the presentation, friends. You can always reach out to us. You can visit our website, www.vedzen.com, to understand this. Yes. Mr. Salunke says, yes, manufacturer takes it back. You have mentioned clear terms in PO. Yes, absolutely. It has to be mentioned. Nowadays, due to automatic mixing, yes, that is a big problem. Production setup, shade variation issue has been reduced a lot. Absolutely. Yes. So do share your feedback, friends. How did you like the presentation? If you want anything to learn more on this, if you want to dive deeper on the subject, definitely we can help you in that. We can do similar presentations to your company also, make them aware about lean principles. And thank you, Sudhakar ji. Thank you, Mr. Kulkarni. Thank you, Mr. Bhatt. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bhatt, for your feedback. Yes, we'll come to the questions. Definitely, I'm noting down the questions. Now, joining me in this question answer session is our director, Mr. Yogesh Vaghani. I would request him to switch on his video camera. Yes, there you are, sir. So, yeah, thank you so much, everybody. We will wait for another 2 minutes to take your questions. We'll spend I hope it's fine with you if we take another 10 minutes to answer your questions, right? Yeah, we have questions coming in, absolutely. Yes, Mr. Tombre, thank you so much for your question. Yes, Mr. Chakrabarti, yes, thank you so much. You liked the session. Yeah, you would like to have an in-depth study on construction productivity standards for civil and practices followed by achieving the same. Thank you, sir. Right. We can talk further on that, and we can help you understand lean principles or implement lean principles in your area of work. Yes, to Sanjeev ji. Right, Mr. Junjunwala, you're right, sir. If we open the box, if there is any problem, like Mr. Salunke already pointed out, he said that all these things have to be mentioned in the PO itself, right? And we have to be very specific, and we have to be clearly understanding that the supplier is made aware in the initial parts of engagement, so that these kind of measures can be taken up.
Let's start taking the first question.
Yes, sir. So the first question that we got was from Mr. Guyen. He said, how to identify big improvement opportunity in construction site, and what are the biggest mistake we should avoid when implementing lean in construction, right? So yeah, as an organization, Mr. Vaghani, please.
Okay.
Yes, that's the first question, sir.
Yes, very interesting question. First off, based on the data that is available, we have to find out which is the using 80-20 principle, which is forming the major waste in your organization. So far, the 8 waste what Piyush has pointed out, we have found rework to be the major waste, okay, while doing the work. Second, we have seen coordination, which is again a big waste. Using some of the tools, you are in a position to overcome this waste. Does this answer your question?
Yes.
Mr. Nigyu?
Would like to hear from Mr. Gwen on whether he understood. To carry forward what Mr. Vaghani said, the 20% problems which are resulting in 80% of the mess in the company, that needs to be identified first. And we as a consulting firm can visit your company. We can visit the site. We can assess the current situation, what is happening right now, and what is the expectation that can be found out, and then we can suggest the ways. Now the biggest what he mentioned, Mr. Gwen, is what are the biggest mistake we should avoid, right? The biggest mistake you should avoid is not involving everybody, right? We said we have to make everybody a partner in this whole initiative. Lean is not a short-term thing. All partners, right, from suppliers, the contractors, the architects, even if you have local authorities whom you have to report to, they have to be aligned so that we can get the best out of our project. Yeah, like initially we shared, it's time to wear off our dark glasses and start using a new approach, right? So the next question we have is from Mr. Mahesh Chaudhary. Yes, Mr. Mahesh Chaudhary says, please guide us on how we can capture rework on various power infrastructure sites. Yes, sir. Would you like to go on that, sir?
Yes. See, the waste, whether it is a power infrastructure site or any construction, waste is a waste. First, we have to know the waste and we have to develop the eyes to see the waste in the site. If we identify the waste, then there are ways to reduce and eliminate waste. So if rework is the highest waste, then we have to go into each and every rework that is being done and find out how that rework could be avoided. Having same mistakes, repeating same mistakes again and again is another big hidden waste within the organization. So that's my answer to you, Mr. Mahesh.
Thank you. Thank you. Mahesh, I hope you have covered your, please share your feedback. And if you have any other questions, do share it with us. Now, like Mr. Bhani said, any company having set a benchmark in the process, having benchmarked the process internally first, what should be the standard we are working, we can definitely quantify the rework that is happening and we can eliminate that gradually. Now, the second question which Mr. Sanjeev Jhunjhunwala shared, like if we open the box and if there is any problem like shade variation, right angle problem in the box, yes, the manufacturers will not take back the material. How to handle this situation? Absolutely. Right. This is a big problem. This problem we did face at one of the sites, and their project head is in the participant list. What he also shared earlier in the chat box, which you can't see, but what we can see is, yes, the manufacturer takes back, right? You have to mention clear terms as in PO. Mr. Salunke has said that. And nowadays, automatic mincing, yes, that is due to the production setup that happens. But if we involve the supplier and tell him about the costs of replacing that thing or not correcting that mistake at our end, and for their end, we have to create a win-win situation for both, for the supplier also, for the company also. That's how we can overcome that. We have to make him aware about the benefits of that.
We have to mention these specifications very clearly to the vendors, whether it is tiles or any other these. While getting the material, they should specify that, yes, we have met your specification 1, 2, 3, 4. Believe me, we could easily overcome problems related to tiles, as what Piyush mentioned in one of the client's place.
Right. Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Desai, Shivaji Desai is asking how to sustain the quality in construction industry where the labors are keeping moving, right? So yes, that is a big problem, Mr. Desai. So how do we handle that? Sustaining the quality.
Okay, should I take it up?
Yes, yes, please go ahead, sir.
Okay. Mr. Desai, first off, the quality is not quality department, but quality is everyone's responsibility in the organization. Now the question is, labor goes on moving. Fine, it will move. What we need to do is provide training and education. It doesn't take more than 2 to 3 days for a new person having the skill to follow the directions and the training given to do the work as good as what the old person was doing. There are very powerful tools which are available, like training within industry. You don't need more number of days to train the people. Generally, we are in so much rush to get the new people and we put them on the job without realizing that he has not been trained. And then there is more rework, then there is more waste that is created at the site level. So to overcome, my suggestion is we should see that the quality is everyone's responsibility, number one. Number two, providing training. Once you have the SOP and once you provide the training, that should take care. Not only provide training, but take some objective test, visual test, tick mark, whether he has really followed the instructions that have been given during the training.
Right, thank you, sir. To add to that, the earlier question was also in the same lines, right? The quality of the product that is given by the supplier, and that has to be understood by the people who are going to receive it. We must understand that the skills and the methods that we use have to be the waste is created because of not having a standard method of doing that, right? So like Vahani sir said, we should have a method of training the people on it so that everybody adopts the same approach. Everybody has a standard and everybody's working as per the standard. So, and definitely discipline is very much important in developing that kind of standard. The organization has to focus on building that discipline among its people and disciplining the suppliers also. And by visiting the to the earlier question, by visiting to the factory, like one of our companies does, one of our clients does, they visit the factory, they find out what are the causes, why this shade kind of variation, why this undulation, why this right angles are not being met. That problems could be solved. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Desai. I hope you have an answer. Yes, thank you. Would you like that tools, percentage plan, completion, look ahead, need backups? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is all about becoming agile in having the data first and then putting people behind analyzing the data. Thank you so much, sir. Yes, more questions. I'm looking for more questions. Yes, yes. Thank you, Mr. Salunke. He said, data may not be available, but micro planning, which includes work breakdown structures, resource planning, material planning, manpower planning, machinery, will almost solve the issues. Yes, glad that you mentioned that, sir. Thank you so much for your inputs. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Training is the solution. Yes, Mr. Desai, training is the solution. Like Mr. Vaghani pointed out very clearly that people should be can be trained very easily in a faster way, because the environment, as you are aware, in the construction industry, it's very dynamic. People are, we have to make with the people that contractor brings in, right? We have to, yes. Tushar ji has one question. Mr. Tushar Chalke, he says, what should be the actions for new project sites to take care of those issues or avoid these situations? Yes, can you be more specific, Mr. Chalke? What kind of issues would you like to, these issues, if you can mention any one of the issues or two issues, maybe we can come back on your question. But going ahead, we have Mr. Gautam Bagh. Right. He says one of the main reasons of cracks on slab is dehydration of concrete during casting at a weather temperature of 35 at 45, 40 degrees Celsius. Even after sprinkling water, how we can take care of this? Right. This is a very technical problem, Mr. Bagh. We'll have to study the process, how it is done, and if that is not working out, maybe some solutions can be drawn in. But sitting from here, it would be very difficult to answer which area this slab is happening and what are the climatic conditions, what is the temperature of the cement that you're getting in. Everything would be accounted for, and the failure modes can be identified. There is a process called failure mode effective analysis. We can use that for the process stage to identify what is going wrong, right? Just check out on the internet, Mr. Bag, and we can help you always, right? If you need preliminary information, you can go. And if you want to really help your company and solve your own problems, please get back to us. We will help you implement that procedure. Yeah.
Piyush, you have missed out on one question from Mr. Mohammed. Due to COVID, we are facing churning of manpower issue. How can we overcome this? Is digitization can overcome it in MEP construction?
Right.
Please go ahead.
Okay, okay, thank you, thank you. So I believe Mr. Amir is Amirullah, yes, Amirul Mujahid, right? He's into MEP construction and he's facing, like you, Mr. Amirul, every other company is facing this issue, and digitization is a way that can be adopted in finding out what are the problems during construction. But for manpower, yes, training also can be done using digital methods. There are learning management systems that can be used. All that systems, since most of us, even including the frontline workers, they use smartphones. So all these content can be given to them there, and they can learn using sitting at home also. So yes, digitization can be used to overcome the skill part, what is required to get them on work. But then getting the right people is very important, and training them is even more important.
So how does one overcome? There are two suggestions to it. Number one, local, have local worker, number one. Number two, I was discussing with a company yesterday, one of our clients. He was facing problem of manpower and trained manpower, which have gone to their native place. So he said, within 3 days, whosoever is ready to come back, we will provide an air ticket for say. The other organization said, we have sent vehicle to get people back. So there are ways and means. If you discuss within your own industry, you may find some ways and means to see how this manpower during this COVID time could be overcome. Very important is, whatever we are doing, we need to measure. If there is no measurement, there cannot be any improvement. So measuring is very important for us to improve. Number one, going to the real place, the Gemba, is another very important. Sitting in the site office and going where the problem is will resolve most of the issue. One of the gentlemen wants to know more about 80-20. I think we will send them presentation. Please write to us certain tools that you would like to learn. We will be in a position to help. Right now, time does not permit us to explain the 80-20 and how to find out.
Right. Yes, sir. So he's also pointing out, like Mr. Roy, Mr. Kian Roy, he also says that data for a new site may not be available. How to do 80-20 analysis? With learning 80-20 analysis, we can surely help you in that. But if data site is not available, like Mr. Waghani said, we have to go to the Gemba, go to the site where everything is happening, find out the problems in the process, and discover the problems, speak to the people, speak to the process owners, and that's how we can speak to the builders or whatever the type of construction that is happening, whether it's an infrastructure thing or so. Focusing on like going to the Gemba is the answer.
Yes, we are going to share the presentation and the recording.
Yes. There are 2-3 more questions that,
yeah.
Yes, Mr. Desai, definitely. So Mr. Thombre had one question where earlier we are EPC player in MEP services, and my question is there any tool to map the construction process similar to VSM tool, which is widely used in manufacturing industry? Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the same value stream mapping has to be used in the construction. The same tool. Find out right when we do a value stream mapping, check where is the excess inventory, where are the problem areas, what is the rework, what are the different type of waste that exist right from the start up to satisfying the customer, what needs to be done. Once that value stream mapping is done, then you find how we can improve the site level. Yeah, so it's a very powerful tool, learning to see the waste that exists.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Like Mr. Thombre question has been answered now. Yes, Mr. Chakrabarti says it was a very good session. However, we would like to have an in-depth study on universal construction productivity standards for civil, mechanical, electrical works and practices being followed for achieving the same. Yes, sir, we can definitely help you in that. You can contact us offline, and we would like to take up that study also. We can help you in that. Yes.
We'll make one more announcement. Within 15 days, we are going to have and continue on lean construction.
Yes. Yes, sir. So we are going to continue this lean construction webinars in various sessions, answering different kind of queries, taking up different themes. And so bear with us. And if you cannot, if you have some urgent problems, please get in touch with us so that we can solve those in a collaborative.
Let them write to us. We will take up all those questions in the next webinar also, and wherever possible, we will revert within 48 hours.
Right. Thank you, sir. Right. Thank you, Mr. Chakrabarti. You have put in a request. Thank you so much. Now, yes. Right. So, Mr. Junjunwala has reiterated that PO confirms that it is relevant to IS codes, but then we also face challenges with most of the suppliers. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you see how we take up supply chain management and which are the areas, which are the suppliers from where we have major problems. If that is addressed, I'm sure the problems could be reduced dramatically. Like in Toyota, if the problem exists at the vendor's end, they do a workshop there to see that the problems are reduced. In some cases, just addressing the problem with the supplier, understanding what are the systems you are following, what are the systems supplier is following. I think we will be in a position, because in quite a few organizations, we have done supply chain management, and how the supplies also come in a systematic manner, consistent in quality, not having excess inventory and no stock out also could be handled very well. So apart from quality related issues, even the inventory levels can be addressed on the supply chain management.
Right. Thank you so much. So you can get to us, Mr. Junjunwala. We would help you solve this problem and to help you overcome this situation also. And like we said, we need to create a win-win situation for the suppliers also. I remember from the manufacturing industry, what Bajaj could do is Bajaj send their quality team to the suppliers to help them solve their problems. That's how their supplier could help them in return, right? You have to solve their problem. Why this variation is coming? Why they are not able to produce the right angles? Why there is undulation, right? These problems should be solved, and when they are solved, suppliers agree, right? These are the similar situations which manufacturing got, because like manufacturing also, especially automobile companies, they procure thousands more than 6,000 parts they procure for one vehicle. You can imagine the number of components that are required to build one car. So if every part has that kind of problem, the cars would be returning to the factories very often. But that does not happen, because they are working in a win-win situation and they are helping solve those problems.
I will request the participants to visit our website to understand how the problem solving is done. I think lot of informations are there on our website,
Yes.
www.vedzen.com.
Yes, sir. So you can write to us. You'll find the chat box, the feedback box. Write with your problems, and we will help you discuss that at a bigger scale in your organization. Now, there is one question by Mr. Deepak Redkar. He says, in this pandemic situation, what kind of safety measures need to be taken for upcoming projects? Right. Sir,
You please go ahead. I'm still going through the question.
so, Mr. Redkar, safety measures, how you can take is, I hope you have some standards already in place. If you don't have standards, standards like OHS, if you don't have that, you can go for that. But that is a time-taking thing, right? How you can start is every standard, whether it's ISO. I hope ISO is very common thing. Even that, in the clause number 6.1, it says we have to assess risk in each of the process, right? So every process, whether it's incoming material, handling the material, or getting it for at the site for construction, the process should be studied. What are the hazards in that process? What is the risk involved in that process? How likelihood of that is going to happen? What is the severity of that problem? That can be understood. Based on that, the risk can be prioritized in several categories, and that can be solved. And that can be eliminated altogether, right? Since there are risks involved due to social distancing, there are risks involved due to multiple handling, so that can be certainly assessed, and by maintaining some standards, we can overcome and develop new safety measures in upcoming projects also.
Okay, we can do one more thing, Piyush.
Yes.
The participants can refer some of the issues to us, and through the offline, not going on site, and understanding the issues, how those problems could be resolved, what are the tools that could be applied. We can take up one or two issues and show how the same could be resolved.
Right. So please write to us, participants, with your problems in detail. We will help you out in an offline manner or through online sessions also. We can do several online programs for you to help you overcome this COVID situation also. Like I shared earlier, we can help you gear up, we can help you discover those ways, and we can help you manage your performance in daily work also. So I believe, sir, we have finished taking all the questions. There are no more new questions here on the screen. So, and it's 12:28. So we have overshot by half an hour. I believe we'll have to close this session. And like we said, we will keep doing these programs.
So let me thank all the participants. Namaskar. Thank you very much for joining us, and do keep in touch.
Namaskar, everybody. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Yes, thank you. Good, you liked it. Mr. Kulkarni, thank you. You liked it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nandi. Thank you, Mr. Shukla. Thank you, Sanjay ji. Thank you, Mr. Bhatt. Great that you liked it. Thank you, Tushar ji.
Okay, I'm going to leave at this stage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Islam. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for participating. It was a pleasure sharing about lean construction with you. All those who have registered for the program, they will be getting regular information from our through our they have been automatically registered for the newsletter, so they would be definitely getting these information. Thank you, Sukumaji. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Thank you so much. All those who want to solve these issues, chronic issues or regular issues, please write to us. Please write to our website. Go to our website, fill up the information form, and we will be glad to help you out in this situation. So this is Piyush signing out from today's webinar. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in this program. Thank you, Akash ji. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dinesh ji. Thank you, Hanuman ji. Thank you, Neeraj ji. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'm signing out. Thank you so much. Let's close this webinar. Vedzen team, Amol, he's my colleague in this. Let's close it. Thank you so much, Amol, for your help. And I'm glad I'm working with you. Thank you so much.